Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 2 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about input lag. And I never once thought that I would still be doing Black Ops 2 In Depth 5 years after this game came out, but it's incredibly popular, even more so now that it's backwards compatible on Xbox One. There's between 100 and 150,000 people playing at any given time, and a lot of those players on Xbox One are experiencing input lag. They're telling me they have some sort of input lag, which means when they pull the trigger, there's a delay between the trigger pulls on the screen, or they jump and there's a delay and then the character jumps, when that shouldn't be happening. I've had a lot of other people tell me that something is wrong with the stick sensitivities, that their sensitivity feels higher, lower, different. I experienced this as well. I had a very difficult time on stream the other day killing people, acquiring targets. Something felt very wrong about the aim, but I couldn't quite put my fingers on it. So I did a lot of testing, and spoilers, I did find that there are things wrong with the input lag and there are things wrong with the aiming in the game. So I'm going to cover all of them today, but I wanted to talk about my testing setup first so that you all know where I'm coming from. What I did is I ran Black Ops 2 on both Xbox One and Xbox 360, and I ran them on the same gamer tag, on the same map, using the same weapon, camo setup, and everything, and I had both of them connected to Elgato HD60 Pros, which are internal capture cards on my computer. I ran both capture cards at the same time, capturing on OBS. I used each one as a unique input, and added little labels so that it looks roughly like this. The cool thing about this is I'm capturing both game states at the exact same spot at the exact same time, and I'm capturing it live so that I can test input delay, so that if I were to move the sticks or hit the jump buttons on both controllers at the exact same time, you could see the difference on the screen. Of note, I also made sure to have the controllers be wired and not wireless, and I worked exceptionally hard to hit the buttons at the exact same time, doing many takes and often using rulers and pencils and sticks to try and make sure that all of the inputs were identical and my fingers weren't flubbing anything up. And let's say the results were surprising. What's not surprising is that there was some input lag on the Xbox One. For me, in my particular situation, it was only 1 to 2 frames. It was honestly very difficult to test for, to even determine given my capture cards and the button pressing and the delay and human error. But there was about 1 to 2 frames of input lag. Very minor. Most people should not be able to notice this. However, this was in an ideal situation. This can definitely vary from system to system if yours is overheated, between Xbox One S, between original, between a lot of different things, and it can definitely vary based on game stress. I did these tests on local play with no bots, with no other things going on, with no lag, with no other sort of stressors on the game, and if you add a bunch of stressors on the game, a lot of particles and explosions and stuff, this can definitely increase the input delay because the Xbox One runs an emulator of the Xbox 360 that then runs the game. So there's a little bit of delay right there, but it's not the biggest issue for me, though it may be quite bad for you. What I did run into, though, is that the Xbox 360 thumbstick appears to be linear, whereas the Xbox One thumbstick appears to be non-linear. And that sounds a little bit crazy, so I'm going to go ahead and skip to the testing so that I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so in order to do this frame by frame, I actually decided to use Windows Media Player. You can see me move my mouse around. I'm using OBS to capture the file on the desktop. And I have also decided to sync these 2 frames to do a little bit of editing here so that the input delay is actually not a factor in what you're looking at. But you can see that as I aim these sticks and move, they're roughly in sync for a little bit, but then the Xbox 360 starts getting ahead of the Xbox One. Not by a lot, but by about a frame. You can definitely see it here, and you can definitely see it in this particular shot, that the Xbox 360 is aiming ahead of the Xbox One, and I want to be very clear that I have already done some editing to edit out the input delay such that their starting times are the same. We're talking about thumbstick sensitivity and thumbstick curves here. It more or less followed the same pattern until you've about made a 360, no pun intended. The effect is much more noticeable on higher sensitivities. I've doubled from 4, which is the standard, up to 8, which is high in this game. And in this particular set of tests, I have not done the manual syncing, so you can also see the very slight 1-frame input delay. And it's kind of crazy. So we're going to go ahead and start off, and you can see that the Xbox 360 is going to move 1 frame ahead of the Xbox One, but even still, considering they're roughly going to be in the same places for a little bit here, until the Xbox 360 gets radically ahead at this point. You can see that even given the 1 frame of spacing, it's aiming much faster, and that the Xbox One is slowing down. You can see very big differences here, and you can see big differences here. Now, the reason I'm highlighting these, and I again want to emphasize that if your frame was a little different, if I had manually edited and fixed it, it wouldn't look as bad, is that if you watch, the Xbox One again begins to catch up and is getting much closer to the Xbox 360 because it's accelerating. Your sensitivity is changing on the fly, and it appears to be going faster. Now here they've completely caught up, and I believe at this point the Xbox One is actually going to be ahead. So no matter what I've done editing wise at this point, you can see that the sensitivity on the Xbox One is changing on the fly, and even with a big delay being behind and with input delay, it's accelerating and overtaking the Xbox 360, which is incredibly strange to me, and I think that is what's screwing up a lot of people's aim. Finally, I want to show you exactly the same thing here, but when you're aim down sights, and this one has been compensated for the input delay. So the starting points are going to be identical, so there won't be that little bit, but you can see roughly the same thing. The Xbox 360 is still turning much faster than the Xbox One. It's kind of incredible, actually, how big the difference is. And then at a point, the Xbox One is going to begin to catch up. See, they're getting more and more in sync. Let's see if I can... Yep, now they're much more in sync, and there's much less of a difference, which means that the Xbox One had to increase the rate of turn or accelerate your aim, which, again, is going to screw a lot of people up. So to reiterate my previous point, the Xbox 360 thumbsticks appear to be linear, and the Xbox One thumbstick inputs are non-linear. The Xbox One thumbstick inputs are slow at first, then they move much faster to kind of catch up, and then they slow down again, and all of this is on top of a small amount of input delay that could vary from system to system, so it can be very annoying, and it can definitely throw your aim off. I do have a solution for this, but I kind of want to explain how I arrived at that first. The best way I can do it is with the little graph that I pulled from Robot Space Industries. There's a link to this forum and this whole discussion in the description, but essentially you can see what a non-linear curve would look like with these being your sensitivities and speed. Kind of like the Xbox One, it's very slow at first, then accelerates very quickly, and then it slows down again, but your starting and ending points are roughly the same. I personally really don't like playing like this, but it is an option, and it is something you are allowed to do. It's also entirely possible that the two systems could have different controller dead zones from a hardware perspective. They are not the same controller, and they will be made with different tolerances, and they will be designed to have different dead zones. And a dead zone is the area which you can move the thumbstick, but no input is converted into the game. And of note, Black Ops 2 had a very strange software dead zone just on its own. It was kind of unlike most games that I've seen, at least shooters for that matter. So here are some screenshots I pulled from the Dinkerson forums, link to this down there in the description as well. This is the dead zone for Call of Duty 4. Any sort of movement inside those blue dots will result in nothing. It kind of prevents you if you have a broken stick or if you've got heavy thumbs or something from over-aiming. However, for Black Ops 2, it looks like this, which is something more like an ellipsoid. It's a little bit stranger, and I know it annoyed some people, though most of you may not have noticed it. So that's different as well. So this is a problem that happens both on the hardware and software side of things, in that the controllers are different hardware, and that the games have unusual dead zones, and that it's running an emulator, and it's impossible to completely fix, well, without modifying your controller and kind of hacking up your Xbox. However, the Xbox One Elite controller can help a lot because you can do custom stick curves. You can change your stick sensitivity, not how you look, but the input curve. You can make it linear, non-linear, crazy, fast, slow, delayed. So in order for this to work, you need an Xbox One Elite controller. I feel a little weird saying that, seeing as how I'm sponsored by Scuff, but right now this is the only thing that I'm aware that can help. You can go into your console settings, go to your devices, and you'll find that you can configure both sticks. You can put them in default, delay, aggressive, instant, smooth. What I would recommend that you do is take your right stick, or whichever one that you aim in, and set it to instant. Instant is going to be the closest that I can get to accelerating at the same speed or whatever as the Xbox 360. Smooth might help a little bit. Aggressive might help as well. Default and delay are definitely not beneficial. I personally do not own an Xbox 360 controller, so I cannot vouch for this from my experience, but I have asked several of my friends to test this out, and so far everybody has said that they liked it when they put the sticks to instant, and it made it feel more like Black Ops 2. I can't make it feel 100% like Black Ops 2, but that is the best sort of fix that I have been able to come up with, and that is what I would recommend that you do, and that is the best that it's going to get. Guys, thank you for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.